Hello and welcome back to NWCL Beyond the Boundary. I'm Kobe Donnelly, and today I'm with Whalley CC professional Levi Wolfenden. How are you, mate?
All good, thank you very much. Lovely to speak to you.
Right. So today I want to ask you about the game of the weekend and your performance, your role as pro, and a few other topics as well. You okay with that?
Yeah, no problem.
Real. So, firstly, could you introduce yourself, please? So, tell about yourself and your involvement at Whalley.
Yeah, so I'm Levi. Started my career at Church and Oswald Twisted Cricket Club in the Lancashire League. I played my first junior game when I was about 6 years old. But there were no like under sevens or eights back then. It was just straight into pretty much under 11s, I think it was. Um, yeah, just progressed through the ranks there. Played my first team game at 13, 2007. Um, yeah, like many others, Lancs Junior set up, bit of minor county cricket in the early 20s. Um, yeah, felt it was time to leave church after they'd done a lot for me, and then 2 years ago now joined Whalley. Um, and yeah, just I absolutely love the club. To be honest with you, it's been a great change. Breath of fresh air, great people. Obviously being the pro down there, a big change for me. Obviously only ever been an amateur back at church in the time that I was there. So yeah, a big change that way, but it's been one that it's been a good change. Met a lot of new people, new friends, friends for life, um, and seen plenty of new grounds as well. Obviously with the formation of the new league, so it's been a good couple of years, and obviously got this year and then signed again for next year, so another year and a half on to go, and hopefully many more.
So, should we brief look at last season? So, you finished ninth in the league, but you managed to make it through to T20 finals there at Lostock. So, as a pro, what did you make of last season, and how motivating was it for the team to reach final stage despite not progressing to the final?
Yeah, it was great. I think we over the past 2 years, to be honest with you, we've done pretty well in T20. It seems to suit our game. I always think a short game's a good game. We've got some lads that can clear the ropes. And I think a lot of, especially in our team, a lot of young lads they enjoy the Friday nights, bit of music on, bigger crowds, and I think they relish in that atmosphere. And we do get some quite good crowds, whether that be down at Whalley or obviously we play the local teams, Salisbury, Rib Wanderers, and so on. I know we played EAB and a couple of others, but the crowds tend to be pretty decent. They have we have junior training on before that, so obviously that keeps the crowd on after the game. First year, yeah, we did pretty well. I think we finished third, potentially on run rate. Don't quote me on that. That could be a wild guess. And then obviously last year, yeah, we I think we were pretty much unbeaten all the way through. I don't think we lost a game in the group, and then obviously we lost in the final to. It's been a long time since that was it. With Black Rod, I think it was that we got beat to in the final. Um, we played the first semi final. As always, you rock up first semi final, bit damp underfoot, and then obviously by the afternoon it dries out. But yeah, it was a good day. We took a coach, and I think especially for the young lads that we've got, it was probably a day that none of them had ever actually had a chance to take part in. Some of the older guys had won trophies and been part of those days. So it was good for them. They enjoyed it. Obviously, the fans enjoyed it. I know down at Whalley they've had a few lean years. A bit of a transition. So it was nice to give them back something that they could go and enjoy. And the club's in a really good position at the minute, and like I say, that sparks a bit of motivation, saying that we can try and attack it and try and reach some rewards in that competition again this year.
So, can I talk about your weekend game, v Brinscall? So, yourself, you scored 71 runs in addition to your bowling figures of 445 and a 64-run victory. Can you just go through that game with us from your point of view?
Yeah, well, it was nice to rock up with a bit of sunshine on your back after the last 2 years that we've had. I know we've had a couple of delayed starts, so it was nice to have like even from February onwards, you can probably count the number of days on one hand that it's rained. So it was nice to just rock up and be dry for a start off. Good to see all the lads back together. I'm pretty sure Brinscall felt the same. Just nice to be back playing cricket. Obviously the wicket was pretty good. the obviously with the sun down, win the toss. We managed to win the toss, which is always good and bat. Put ourselves into bat. Um, we have, like I say, we have had some lean years the past couple of years, so it's sometimes it can be easier to just bowl. Because we haven't put many runs on the board at all. Partly down to myself. I've had a few lean years with the bat, which I don't mind admitting. I've been more fruitful with the ball, but yeah, it was one of those things. As early as possible, get into bat. Try and put some runs on the board. And for us as lads, get the monkey off our back of not being able to post a decent score for the other team to chase. So to get 250 was probably a lot more than what we thought we'd get. If I'm being honest, but if you'd have offered us 250 at the start, we'd snap your hand off. So um, it was good for some of the lads to bat. I know. I think your last question in a minute. Young Monty. This is just his first year at uni. He's had back-to-back 50s. He had one in the friendly, and obviously his first senior 50 this time around. Batted really, really well. The opener's got us off to a good start. New Simon, Jamie Pilling, and Frankie opening the batting. Managed to, I think, we put 30 out of 40 on, which again, it doesn't sound like much to many, but to us, it's a really good start that we can use to build on. And obviously myself lucky enough to get a few. Stuart Crabtree as well with 40 odd red at the end. And I hopefully haven't missed anyone out. But yeah, it was really nice for us to get some time at the crease. And credit to Brinscall, they kept plugging away and didn't give up and test us right till the end. And then obviously, at half time, like I said, snap your hand off, come back out to field. And to be honest with you, the left hander, I apologise because I don't know his name, but he did that really well. He didn't give a chance. To be fair, I think he nicked one over the slips in like the third or fourth over. But other than that, he batted really, really. I think got 70 odd, not out. Sorry, I think we were at 70 odd, were it?
Yeah, I think
Um,
it was Stephen Hawke. It was.
right, yeah, yeah. He batted really well, and he managed to chip one back to me, falling. He leathered it back at me, not me, and I caught it one handed, so I was quite lucky. And then their OA looked really strong as well. He bowled quite well. And he looked good even on his short stint at the crease. Quite strong and hit it hard, very straight. So I'm sure he'll do very well for them. And he had a good opening, a left arm opener, who seemed to push it through quite a little bit. But yeah, I think 250 is a tough ask for anybody, and credit to them for getting 190. Like I said, the wicket was good. The outfield was fast. Um, yeah, and it did look like it was going to get close at one point when the pro was in. I think he ended up getting 30 odd. But we managed to take wickets at the right time. Josh Dentiff bowled well. Our new left arm spinner kept it tight. Bowled well again at the lather. He was left-handed, so he bowled well to him to a no, I won't say short boundary, but short enough boundary. Um, and yeah, I will be honest. I don't think we fielded the best. There was a boundary ball and over for probably a 10 or 15 over period, but we were lucky enough because we managed to score enough runs. But yeah, it was a good start. I think last year, a little bit of a stat for you. I don't know if you knew. I don't think we won a home league game last year at all. So we've managed to knock that one off early doors, which is good. I mean, somebody will probably correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure we didn't win a home league game at all last year.
Mm. Well, you mentioned Monty Court there, and this is his first team, his first team 50. How pleased was it for himself and the team to reach that milestone? Because surely he'll leverage that throughout the season to enhance his performances.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, he's a great. Well, first of all, he's a great bloke. He's a young bloke. Just started uni. I think he's gone down to Loughborough, so I'm almost certain he'll have been hitting a few balls all the winter with the many teams that they have down there. Um, but yeah, he's chuffing. To be fair, I think he made his debut not last year, the year before, away at Fennis goals. I mean, I say we were struggling for players. We weren't struggling for players, but we were changing 4 or 5 every week back then. Um, and he came in, batted at three. Well, I kind of said, well, there's this young lad, said, I think he was 16, 17 at that time. And again, cool, I might be wrong, you'll correct me, but we just said, we've got this lad, we need to chuck him in. I said, well, if we're chucking him in, he needs to bat. We can't have him in and batting at 8, 9, as were the days 10 or 15 years ago if you were a young lad. So we just got to chuck him in. And, we managed to bowl finish goals. I think it were about 90, maybe not 90, 70, 80, 90, something like that. And, back then for us, 70, 80, 90, we were a little bit shaky. and I think we were none for one after the first over. Monty went out at three, and he just looked really calm and composed. And I think he ended up getting about 27 not out. I think in his first knock, guided us home at the end. And since then, really, we've managed to keep him around because, like I said, I think he was at boarding school, so he wasn't always around over the first year and a half or so. But I think now he's at uni. I think he's around a little bit more. So yeah, chuff for him. Great kid. Really enjoys his cricket. He's really positive at the crease. He's getting stronger. And he can bowl a few off spinners as well, which is good for us in the middle overs. So, but yeah, he's a great lad. Chuff for him, and I'm almost certain that won't be the last 50 plus score he gets this year, and I'm pretty certain he'll say that himself because he's definitely good enough to replicate that a number of times throughout the season.
Captain this year, you got Tom Cameron, who was T20 captain last year, but has moved up to being first team captain this year. He's had a good start, 1 from 1. But how do you think he'll adapt to his new role at the club throughout the season and hopefully many years to come?
Yeah, I think it's a really positive move for the club. We've had Frankie Jackson. Well, I've had him for the past couple of years. I know he's done that for much longer. I want to say 4 or 5 years maybe. And Frankie took the team in. When I think like I say, a bit of a transition period where a lot of older heads went like all in one go. So Frankie, inherited quite a young side with a lot of young lads who, will probably admit themselves they weren't quite ready for first team cricket. But he took on that role and he did a really good job and it was a pleasure playing for him. He's become a good friend of mine. Great player as well. Got a lot about him. And his leadership style, was very out there. Really G'd the boys up. You could really see it. Whereas, you know, Tom Cammy, I'd say his leadership style is slightly different. He's a little bit more reserved, but he really understands the game. He listens. He's spent a lot of time, obviously, learning off Frank. Spent a lot of time in the slips with Dickie Palmer. Dickie's been around for many years. I know he won't mind me saying that. He's got Stuart Crabtree, myself, and a couple of others again that have been around the game for a while. And he's like I say, he's like sponge soaks it all up, and it can be quite daunting as a young captain with a new team, and also with a few older more experienced lads to like try and almost like you're fighting for the respect and the trust, but that's absolutely not the case. He has us behind him 100%, and we know that a lot of us have already been captains of first 11 teams, in local cricket, and it is not an easy job. And I'm pretty certain whoever watches this will agree with me for those that have been captains. So, our job is to make his job easier. And so far, I think we've managed to do that, and hopefully that continues. I'm sure it will. And we know about local cricket. If you can get on a bit of a winning run, everybody gets behind everybody, and things seem a little bit easier. So yeah, I think he'll go really well. Everybody's behind him, and like I said, it's a real positive move for the club. But again, I just want to place on record that pre Tom, Frankie did a great job, and I'm pretty sure Tom will follow in his footsteps and hopefully pushes on to the next level.
So let's talk about your role as professional. So despite not being captain, so how do you help your team outside your performances, though, such as coaching players or helping your captain with decisions, etc.?
Yeah, I think on the field, it's like I say, just getting behind Cammy, as we call him, and offering a bit of advice every now and again. 9 times out of 10, obviously I'll be opening the ball in, so I'm kind of in the zone as much as I can be, and then obviously when I'm I generally stand at slip or somewhere out of the way where I don't drop it after I've bowled an over. Yeah, I'll offer my opinion, but I to be honest with you, when I'm bowling, I tend to just kind of step away because I know he's got 2 or 3 other blokes that are going to be there in his ear. And again, after being a captain, it can be quite overwhelming when you've got 4, 5, 6 people offering their advice. At times when potentially you don't necessarily want it. So I kind of stay away at that point in the game. But then when I've kind of finished my spell or getting towards the end, I can kind of give him a nudge, and we can start thinking about the middle overs, which now we have more options than middle overs. So we have more to talk about. Whereas a couple of years ago, obviously with Frank, we didn't have that much to talk about because we didn't have that much depth in our bowling attack. So it was kind of an easy decision. So there's a little bit more to talk about, and I think he's like I said, Tom's got plenty of people around that can support him. So yeah, when I finished up my spell or whatever it is, I'll kind of drop into that role and give my two penneth worth, and let him take it or leave it at the end of the day. Like I said, he's the one that will make that final decision. And I think, away from the games, obviously got the warm ups before, and nothing too high level, a bit of football, and just rally the lads around each other a few drills. Obviously training on a Tuesday. All the guys, to be fair, that are there, they kind of know what they want to do, and they just kind of get on with it themselves. But it's in terms of anything else at the club, obviously the juniors train on a Friday. It's quite nice actually now for me because my eldest girl, she goes down on a Friday, so I go down and support. So I started with the under sevens this year, and she's taking part in that. So it's quite nice to be down there and supporting that age group, and hopefully many other age groups as the year goes on. Because Friday night down there at the cricket club is it's absolutely heaving. There has to be nearly I don't know, somebody else will probably correct me, probably 70 to 90 juniors on the field. Double that for your parents. So it's quite a hive of activity, and all credit to everyone that takes part. But yeah, that's kind of my role, and generally putting the ring out before the game, putting the stumps in, sorting the sight screens out and the rope and everything, to do that as a team. So yeah, it's a really good time to be part of the club. So
Mm. And how do you adapt yourself to different game formats and situations such as T20 and league games and a top order collapse? How do you adapt yourself in those type of situations?
um, I could Dickie Palmer would probably be able to give you a really good answer to this question for me, because he just tells me to just go out and whack it, which which is kind of towards the latter end of my career I've tried to do, and it has come off sometimes. I won't say all the time at all, but I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think in the first year that I became pro, I probably thought about it a little bit too much. I think that obviously that tag, I say pro, it's I'm an amateur, much like many of the other young English lads. You know what I mean? So obviously that tag is, to us, it's kind of a big deal, especially if you're rocking up against a club that actually does have a professional. Um, so yeah, it's it's a tricky one, really. I don't think I really changed that much. I would say definitely in the league, I would I would just try and probably bat for as long as I can, because I would back myself in those last 10 overs to potentially double my score. Um, I would. I'd have a crack at it. I know I'd be able to. Whether I did it, that's another thing. But I'd probably look to do that. Depend even wherever I went into bat, even if I ended up in the first 5 overs. It's I bat as long as I can. 2020 again. Open up. I try and open up as much as possible. Although Tom batted me at 3 last year, but hopefully he'll put me back to the top this year. Um, and yeah, again, just them pink balls are amazing. So as soon as that one's up in your half, I'm pretty certain any batter at any club in the league will want to have a chase at it, especially on a Friday, hard ball, fast outfields. Yeah, just try and ping it as far as you can and as quick as you can, and get as many runs as you can in as short a space of time as you can. Um, and a top order collapse, and again, I'm sure the lads at Whalley will be able to say we've been in a few of them over the past 2 years. So I guess a top order collapse, it depends what you've got coming in after you. If you've got depth, I don't think a top order collapse is that much of an issue. Um, but if you haven't got much depth, then I'd probably go with a tact of scoring as many runs as you can in as little time as you can. To see what you can put on the board. I don't know if there's anything for staying out there for as long as possible and just blocking it back. So yeah, I think it would vary on a game by game basis.
Yeah. And with the NWCL exec looking at expanding the league, and an advert will come out by the time this video is published, what would you say the positives you and Whalley experienced since being in the NWCL?
I think obviously since its inception, I think obviously playing at new grounds, new teams, meeting new people, connections, and things like that. I'd say personally, it's Saturday cricket for me. I've spent all my life in the Lancashire League playing on Sunday. Um, so being able to play on a Saturday and then not have to rush home at 8 o'clock on a Sunday from 45 minutes away to then go to bed ready for work on Monday is a brilliant plus. But I'd say from a club's point of view, I would say yeah, it's like I said, meeting, going to new clubs, new grounds, meeting new people, making new connections. It opens up a lot of opportunity for that way. I'm assuming the juniors are experiencing different clubs and grounds as well. Um, yeah, and it kind of obviously shows you that your cricketing world is slightly bigger than for example, East Lancashire or the Ribble Valley where we are. So yeah, I'd say that yeah, it's been a see on the field it's been pretty lean for us, but off the field we've managed to grow very well. So we'll hopefully continue to do that as the years progress.
The league's main asset is to attract some more clubs in now in the coming years.
Um, oh, you put me on the spot there. I'd no, I would say potentially is there. Or some people might say the travel and the locations and potentially traveling Barnoldswick to Walton is quite a long journey in Division Two. I know I work in Salford, so and um I'm 30 minutes from Barnoldswick where I am, and then I'm another 40 minutes to Walton from mine. So I'd say that obviously some of the travel, but also at the same time, on the flip side of that, it's quite nice because you like I say you're getting out to see these different places, these different grounds, and experience what how how they do things. And I'd say there'll definitely be some learning, for maybe grounds people, committees, and how different clubs do it, and sharing those ideas. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to grow the game. So yeah, I would say that the locations and the different settings that are on offer across the leagues.
What do you think about the quality of cricket itself in terms of the pros, you oversee, the amateurs? Have any thoughts about the quality of the cricket?
Yeah, I think there's some very 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 good amateurs. I think Division One is obviously it is obviously a slightly higher standard. Obviously, the depth is much greater in those sides, and they are where they are for a reason. Those teams do well for a reason. There's a lot of, like I say, good amateur cricketers that have been pros in the past, in the leagues. Um, even in Division Two, there are some very, very, very good amateurs. Some good young players, um, pros as well. I think obviously there's a lot of clubs that opt for local English pros now. Um, we're all of varying abilities, but we've all got enough about us to be able to win games and drive our respective teams forward. So, but yeah, I think that first year when everybody was in one league, um, on paper, you'd potentially put a Whalley versus, well, you would have put a Whalley versus Little Weaver as a complete mismatch, but we gave it a good go. We absolutely got stuck into everybody we could do, and try to win those games, and yeah, of course we ended up in the second division, but it it, it was a it was something that we needed to see where we were at, and yeah, we came up against some really really good players, batters, all rounders, ballers, and it's obvious that those guys have been quality players for a long time.
Mm. So, say I want to move into some quick fire questions. So, first of all, your favourite cricketing memory?
Oh, I know he sent me these earlier on, and I had a look at them today, and this was the one that stumped me. Favorite cricketing memory. Um, I'm probably one of out in my team, maybe one of not so many that remembers the 2005 Ashes. So I'd probably say something that when they flicked the bails off at the Oval, um, and that was all she wrote. So I'd probably say that I remember watching that on the You were on Channel 4 back then, wasn't it?
I'm born
Um,
2003, so I can't remember that far.
oh, I tell you what, you are one of them then. Somebody will correct me. I probably got something wrong then. It's been a long day at work, but yeah, I remember having the box set DVDs and everything. So I'll probably say that because the hype around that was massive, and yeah, I still remember that. It was and the team that they had. So yeah, I'd probably say the 2005 Ashes.
And the best player you've played with and the best player you've played against.
Amateur or pro? Which what do you
Either.
want?
Either
Either,
player.
right? Right, okay. Best player that I've played with. Oh, again, probably should have thought about these. I'd probably say somebody, and then somebody else would crop into my head. It's a tough one because I played with and against this guy. The best player I played with, I am going to have to say Saeed Amwar Jr. There'll be he obviously is pro. There'll be a number of clubs around in the league that will know who Saeed Amwar Jr. is. He's been coming over for many years, and I had the pleasure of playing with him at church. I think it was 2011, 12, or 10, 11, whichever one it was. Um, yeah, unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. I've never seen anybody hit the ball as far or as hard or do what they want with the ball when they're balling as much as he did. And the absolute ease he did it with was just incredible. So yeah, I'd probably say him playing with. Like I said, I did also play against him. Um, Best player I've played against. Again, this is a tricky one. I don't think can I come back to that one? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. Um, Second one, third one, even the favorite ground to play at and focusing on NWCL clubs aside from Whalley.
In the NWCL,
In NWCL, yeah.
favorite ground. Ooh, it's a tricky one. I would say it's a tricky one because we've not played. I mean, I've played at quite a few out of the league. So when I wasn't obviously in this league, I'd like you form a social circle. You form with, I'd played at quite a lot of them. But then obviously when we first formed in the first year, we played quite a lot of the Bolton teams at home. And then obviously being in the second division, it's quite old Ribblesdale League clubs heavy. So for example, we didn't play at Kersley, we didn't play at Little Lever. We didn't play at Farmers Social Circle in that year. Um, it's a tricky one. The favourite one in the put me on the spot again. He put me on the spot. Yeah, and again we didn't play at Padiham. I'd probably say Reed. I think everybody might say Reed. Just the sheer amount of runs you could potentially score there. The wickets are great. Like honestly, the work they must do at that ground, on a day-to-day basis is incredible. Obviously fast, small ground, good wickets. I think anybody with anything about them with a bat in the hand, would have the potential to score some decent runs at Reed. And it's not just that, it's a nice ground. The ball is nice. Changing rooms are nice. Nice view. And obviously nice little village as well as Reed around the corner from me. So yeah, I'd probably say Reed.
And your favorite cricketing legend.
Growing up again, 2005 Ashes, Andrew Flintoff. No doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about that. I think for anybody my age, 32 now, so I think anybody my age potentially growing up would potentially say the same thing if they were an all rounder or a batter maybe. So
And what do you prefer bowling most? First 10 overs, out of your death.
um do you know what? I'd probably say the death. I don't know how many people would say the death, but I quite like it, when the batters are coming at you. I think it's I say it makes it more interesting. I think it does in a way. I think early doors in the first 10, I think especially amateurs and myself included, you're looking to survive. I think before the maybe a bit of shine wears off, or the pitch flattens out a bit, or they get tired, and it's kept me a little bit, you know, back and forth. But I think in those last 10, when people are really coming at you, I think it's makes it a little bit more fun. More chance to pick up a few cheeky wickets at the end. But yeah, it's not just that. I think it makes you think more as a bowler. Where am I going to bowl it? Can I get a Yorker in, kind of thing? And it's actually helped me be able to manage to make my Yorker a little bit better. So I'd probably say the last 10, to be honest with you.
Mm. So that's the questions I have. Is anything you'd like to add?
I'll go back to that best player I've played against. Um, Again, there's a couple, but essentially I'm going to go amateur for this one because I know I went pro for the other one. Um, there was a lad at Burnley, ended up playing first class. Vishal Tripathi, he was a very, very, very good batter to bowl at, and especially on those decks at Burnley. Yeah, I remember we once played him at Burnley for church, and we dropped him, I think, on 10, and he ended up getting 140 odd not out. So that was a great day. But yeah, he was a very, very good player. I don't know how much he plays anymore, but yeah, he was probably one of the best players that I played against.
Well, thanks for coming on. I'll get this interview on social media tomorrow afternoon, and I'll wish you the best of luck for the season.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hope that was all right, and cheers for having me on. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.